What if I told you that 90% of what bothers you today doesn't actually exist? You'd probably think I'm crazy, right? But stay with me for the next few minutes, because I'm about to show you something that will completely change how you see your problems. Right now, as you're watching this, your mind is probably carrying the weight of a dozen different worries, frustrations, and concerns. But here's the shocking truth. Most of that weight is completely imaginary. You've been fighting battles that only exist in your head, suffering from stories you've told yourself, and giving your power away to illusions that dissolve the moment you see them clearly. This isn't just philosophy. This is about your freedom. Are you ready to see what's really been controlling your peace of mind? When something bothers us, we rarely see it as it actually is. Instead, we wrap it in layers of meaning, judgment, and personal significance. A colleague's short email becomes proof they don't respect us. A delayed flight turns into a personal attack on our plans. We take neutral events and paint them with our own emotional colors, then react to our painting instead of the original picture. Our minds are incredible storytellers, constantly creating narratives about why things happen and what they mean about us. But here's the thing. Most of these stories are fiction. We build entire emotional responses on assumptions, interpretations, and fears that exist only in our heads. The person who cut us off in traffic wasn't thinking about us at all. The friend who didn't call back isn't plotting against us. Yet we suffer as if these imagined scenarios were absolutely real. This happens because we're attached to our emotional reactions. We believe our feelings are facts, that our interpretations are truth. When we feel insulted, we assume we were actually insulted. When we feel threatened, we believe there's real danger. But feelings are just temporary visitors passing through our consciousness. They come and go like weather patterns, and we don't have to build our whole day around them. The difference between physical pain and mental suffering is crucial here. If you stub your toe, it hurts. That's real pain with a clear cause. But mental suffering is different. It's the story we tell ourselves about the stubbed toe. I'm so clumsy. This always happens to me. Now my whole day is ruined. The toe stops hurting in minutes, but we can carry that mental suffering for hours. Nothing in life stays the same. This traffic jam will end. This difficult conversation will be over. This stressful period will pass. Yet we act as if current problems are permanent fixtures in our lives. We resist what's happening right now, even though resistance never changes what's already occurring. It just makes us suffer while it's happening. When we understand that most of our mental pain comes from fighting against temporary situations, something shifts. We stop taking everything so personally. We realize that most of what bothers us is just life being life, unpredictable, sometimes inconvenient, but not aimed at us specifically. The ego loves to make everything about us. It takes random events and makes them personal. Rain on our picnic day becomes evidence that the universe is against us. A friend's bad mood becomes proof they don't like us anymore. But most of what happens around us has nothing to do with us at all. People are dealing with their own struggles, systems have their own problems, and life has its own rhythm that doesn't revolve around our personal preferences. There's a space between what happens to us and how we respond to it. In that space lies our freedom. Most people react automatically. Something happens, they feel bothered, they react from that bothered state. But we can learn to pause in that space, to observe what's happening without immediately jumping into reaction mode. This isn't about becoming emotionless or passive. It's about responding from wisdom instead of reacting from habit. Now that you understand how your mind creates most of your suffering, the next step is learning to train that mind. Think of your mind like a wild horse, powerful, but all over the place. Without training, it runs wherever it wants, dragging you along for the ride. But with the right approach, you can learn to guide it calmly and steadily. no matter what storms are happening around you. The first skill is learning to watch your thoughts without getting caught up in them. Most people think they are their thoughts, but you're actually the one watching the thoughts happen. It's like sitting by a river and watching leaves float by. You don't jump in after every leaf. When someone says something that normally would upset you, instead of immediately reacting, you can step back and observe. There's anger arising. There's the urge to defend myself. There's the story about what this means. You're not pushing these feelings away, just noticing them like a scientist studying something interesting. Your breath is your secret weapon in this training. When everything feels chaotic, your breath is always there, steady and reliable. The moment you feel irritation building up, shift your attention to your breathing. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. Feel the air coming in, pause, feel it going out. This isn't just relaxation. It's like dropping an anchor in choppy waters. Your breath connects you to the present moment, and problems only exist when your mind is somewhere else. Here's where most people get stuck. They think they have to react immediately to everything. Someone sends a rude email, and they fire back instantly. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and they honk and gesture right away. But there's incredible power in creating space between what happens and how you respond. Even a 5-second pause can completely change the outcome of a situation. In that pause, you can choose your response instead of just reacting from whatever emotion got triggered. You can turn everyday activities into training for your mind. When you're washing dishes, really feel the warm water on your hands. When you're walking, notice your feet touching the ground. When someone's talking to you, actually listen instead of planning what you'll say next. This isn't about being perfect. It's about catching yourself when your mind wanders and gently bringing it back. Every time you do this, you're building mental muscle. Patience isn't what most people think it is. It's not gritting your teeth and enduring something you hate. Real patience is understanding that everything has its own timing, and fighting against that timing only creates stress. When you're stuck in a long line, instead of getting frustrated, you can use that time to practice being present. When someone's taking forever to make a point, instead of getting impatient, you can practice listening with full attention. Every delay becomes a chance to strengthen your inner stability. The goal isn't to never feel annoyed or upset. That's impossible and unhealthy. The goal is to not let those feelings control your actions. You can feel frustrated and still speak kindly. You can feel disappointed and still be grateful for what you have. You can feel hurt and still choose to respond with wisdom instead of striking back. This is what inner strength really looks like. Not the absence of difficult emotions, but the ability to feel them without being ruled by them. Here's something that might sound strange at first. Your biggest problems are actually your best teachers. Not because problems are fun or because you should go looking for trouble, but because difficult situations show you exactly what you need to learn about yourself. Every challenge that comes your way is carrying a specific lesson, and once you get that lesson, the challenge loses its power over you. When you shift your perspective and start seeing problems as teachers instead of enemies, everything changes. That difficult boss isn't just making your life hard. They're showing you where you still give your power away to other people's moods. That financial stress isn't just about money. It's teaching you about your relationship with security and fear. That family conflict isn't just drama. It's revealing patterns you've been carrying since childhood. Once you start looking for the lesson, you'll find it every time. Most people think strength means never facing difficulties, but real strength is built through facing them. Just like your muscles only grow when they're challenged with weight, your inner strength only develops when life puts pressure on you. The person who's never been tested doesn't know what they're capable of. The person who's been through storms and learned to stay calm, that's someone who's built real stability. Every obstacle in your path is actually hiding an opportunity, but you have to be willing to look for it. That job loss might be the push you needed to find work you actually love. That breakup might be freeing you from a relationship that was holding you back. That health scare might be the wake-up call that gets you to finally take care of yourself. The opportunity is always there, but most people are too busy complaining about the obstacle to see it. There's a big difference between knowing something in your head and knowing it in your bones. You can read 100 books about patience, but until you've sat in a waiting room for 3 hours with a sick child, you don't really know what patience is. You can study all the theories about letting go, but until you've actually lost something important and found peace anyway, it's just ideas. Real wisdom only comes from living through experiences and extracting the gold from them. The strangest thing happens when you start approaching difficulties with curiosity instead of resistance. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of thinking, "This shouldn't be happening," you start thinking, "This is happening, so what can I learn from it?" This shift doesn't make problems disappear, but it transforms them from sources of suffering into sources of growth. Here's what most people never realize. You can actually become grateful for the hard times in your life. Not because you enjoyed them while they were happening, but because you can see how they shaped you into who you are today. That period of depression taught you compassion for others who are struggling. That financial crisis taught you what really matters in life. That betrayal taught you to trust your intuition. Every difficult experience left you with gifts that you use to help yourself and others navigate similar challenges. Now comes the part that connects everything together. Understanding that everyone around you is fighting their own battles, just like you are. That person who was rude to you at the store might have just gotten terrible news from their doctor. That coworker who snapped at you might be going through a divorce. That driver who cut you off might be rushing to see a sick parent. When you realize this, it becomes almost impossible to take things personally anymore. Everyone is carrying pain you can't see. The successful businessman might be struggling with loneliness. The popular social media influencer might be battling depression. The neighbor who seems to have everything together might be dealing with family problems behind closed doors. Once you understand that suffering is the common thread connecting all human beings, your heart naturally starts to soften toward others, even when they're not at their best. Holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. Those feelings don't hurt the person who wronged you. They hurt you. Every minute you spend replaying what someone did to you is a minute stolen from your own peace and happiness. Letting go doesn't mean you approve of what happened or that you have to be friends with everyone. It means you're choosing your own freedom over being right. The most powerful thing you can do when someone treats you poorly is to remember that hurt people hurt people. That person who's being cruel to you is probably in pain themselves. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you respond from understanding rather than from anger. When you can see beyond someone's actions to the pain that's driving them, you naturally respond with more wisdom and less reactivity. Small acts of kindness create ripples that spread far beyond what you can see. A genuine smile to a stranger might be exactly what they needed to get through a difficult day. Letting someone merge in traffic might prevent them from arriving at work already stressed and taking it out on their coworkers. Listening patiently to someone who's upset might give them the space they need to calm down and think clearly. You never know how your kindness might change someone's entire day or even their life. Here's something important. You can't give what you don't have. If you're constantly harsh and critical with yourself, you'll naturally be harsh and critical with others. If you're patient and understanding with your own mistakes and struggles, you'll naturally extend that same patience to others. The way you treat yourself becomes the foundation for how you treat everyone else. Learning to be your own best friend is the first step toward being a true friend to others. The circle of people you care about can keep growing throughout your life. It might start with just your immediate family, then expand to include friends, then your community, then people you've never met but who share your struggles and hopes. Each time you expand this circle, you become a little bit more free from the prison of thinking only about yourself. Your problems start to feel smaller when you realize you're part of something much bigger than your individual concerns. All of this wisdom only matters if you can actually use it in real life. Your workplace becomes your training ground for staying calm when everything around you feels chaotic. That deadline that seemed impossible becomes a chance to practice steady focus instead of panic. That coworker who always complains becomes an opportunity to practice patience instead of getting dragged into negativity. Every stressful meeting becomes a moment to remember your breathing and respond thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally. Your relationships transform when you stop taking everything personally. When your partner is in a bad mood, you don't automatically assume it's about you or something you did wrong. When your friend cancels plans at the last minute, you don't create a story about how they don't value your friendship. When your family member criticizes you, you can listen for any truth in what they're saying without getting defensive. You learn to communicate what you need clearly and kindly without attacking or withdrawing. People will always have opinions about you, and some of them won't be pleasant. The difference is that criticism stops controlling your emotional state. When someone points out your mistakes, you can actually hear what they're saying and decide if it's useful feedback or just their own frustration talking. When someone tries to make you feel bad about yourself, their words bounce off instead of sticking. You develop an inner confidence that doesn't depend on everyone else's approval. Crisis situations reveal who you really are. When everything falls apart around you, when you lose your job, when relationships end, when health problems arise, you can be the calm person others turn to for stability. Instead of adding to the chaos with panic and drama, you become a source of peace that helps everyone think more clearly. People start to notice that you handle difficulties differently, and they begin to ask how you stay so centered when life gets rough. The secret to happiness isn't getting everything you want. It's wanting what you have while working toward what you'd like. You can make plans and set goals without becoming attached to specific outcomes. If things work out differently than expected, you adjust course instead of falling apart. If opportunities don't come when you think they should, you keep preparing yourself while staying open to possibilities you hadn't considered. This flexibility makes you much stronger than trying to control everything. Your inner peace becomes a gift to everyone around you. When you're not constantly reactive and stressed, people feel more relaxed in your presence. When you don't take things personally, others feel safer being honest with you. When you respond with kindness instead of defensiveness, conversations become more productive and relationships become deeper. You realize that your own emotional state affects every person you interact with, and you start taking responsibility for the energy you bring into every room. You now have the tools to live like nothing bothers you, not because you don't care, but because you understand what's really worth your energy and what isn't. These aren't just ideas to think about. They're practices that will change your life if you actually use them. Start with just one thing from what you've learned today. Pick the lesson that hit you the most and try it out this week. If this video opened your eyes to something new about yourself, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. There are more life-changing lessons coming that will help you build on what you've learned today. And here's something important. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. You know that person in your life who's always stressed, always taking things personally, always fighting battles that don't need to be fought. Send them this video. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is showing them a different way to see their problems. Your sharing might be exactly what changes someone's entire approach to life.